Welcome to Zoomtopia. I'm Scott Krickerberg. I'm the head of strategic alliances at DTEN, and we're here to talk about democratizing technology.
And I'm Nia Celestin, the head of marketing at DTEN. And before we get into the democratizing of technology, the reasons why solutions are adopted quickly and universally accepted, I wanted to talk about the process of change itself. When I think about how change happens, I'm reminded of a line in an Ernest Hemingway novel, The Sun Also Rises. And in the novel, there's a character named Mike. And as the story goes, Mike is reflecting with a friend about what happened, and really about what went wrong. So his friend asks him, "Mike, how did you go bankrupt?" And Mike replies, 2 ways, he says, gradually, then suddenly. And that's the way a lot of things work in life. Small changes begin to accumulate, and then a big change happens. And that's the change that changes everything forever. Technological change works like that too. Small, iterative advances in the technology, and then something happens. Innovation. It disrupts, accelerates, drives this rapid adoption. And it feels like that change happened overnight. If we take that analogy and extend it to business, big change can impact a company. They can find themselves buried by that avalanche, or they could be moving safely through and, everyone else is just struggling to get off the mountain. And there are lots of examples about the impact of big change. We can look at transportation. One day it's yellow cab with dispatchers and employees, and then it's Uber with ride sharing and contract workers. We can even go to the movies. One day it's Blockbuster with stores, employees, and even rewind fees. And then Netflix, streaming media, software, and cloud. And change is happening in the collaboration space too. Not too long ago, we were using fax machines. And in just under 10 years, look how far we've come in terms of the tools that we use to communicate, collaborate, and connect with one another. We've gone from email to searchable chat to mobile devices, AI, the Internet of Things. And now we've had this cultural shift to video and video conferencing.
Absolutely, Nia. And the trick is to stay ahead of the curve. So the first curve we saw was the transition from hardware codecs to software codecs. Companies had to spend a lot of money, a lot of budget to deliver that experience to its employees. And we saw the shift to software codecs drastically bring down the price and increase the accessibility of video conferencing that traditionally existed in a conference room or at a corporate level. And now we're seeing the next wave of change, which is democratizing the technology that delivers that video conferencing experience. What's exciting about the Zoom and DTEN partnership is it has allowed us to co-innovate these solutions for the modern workforce. We need to be reliable. We need that user experience to embrace all sorts of users. We have multiple generations accessing technology, accessing Zoom and DTEN, and I think we've done a great job as an alliance to bring the tools and that power and enable all different users to embrace the technology.
As you begin the process of evaluating solutions to meet this challenge, you've got to ask the question, is this technology capable of keeping up with my changing strategy? And of course, look for a leader in the space, an innovator in the space. But critically important is to look for those companies that are simply obsessed with you and your success.
I think that is one of the strengths of the DTEN and Zoom relationship, seeing those trends and being ahead of the curve. And that's a great way to discuss our DTEN Me. The Zoom for Home DTEN Me is taking all those changes that we've recently been affected with, taking the technology that we're used to be creative, to collaborate, and bringing that into a new normal that we all are faced to deal with.
Let's talk a little more about accessibility. and what
Absolutely.
that really means. Naturally, it means the solutions have to be affordable. They have to come in at a price point that equals the value of the product itself. But in our space, we spend a lot of time talking about intuitive user experience and ease of use. And accessibility is so much more than affordability. Accessibility is also about the ability to master technology. When we remove the fear factor from tech, that's when technology can be democratized. When we invite people in to explore, to navigate, to use our solutions so that they can get the experiences that they need and want, that's accessibility.
Post-COVID, we could be looking at a hybrid remote working situation for quite some time. We cannot predict when we will have a full return to work, if that's even possible. The next best thing that we can provide is that technology at home, in the work environment that you're currently in. We know that people are working not in their usual environment. They're not in the office, they're not in conference rooms, but they still need to collaborate, they need to communicate, they need to bounce those ideas back and forth off of each other. What Zoom and DTEN have done together is make the technology accessible at a user level.
And the DTEN Me fits perfectly on the desk. It is designed for the home office. It's built to deliver all of those experiences. But part of the reason why this particular solution is winning the day is because form factor matters. At DTEN, our design process is really a human-centric design process, meaning that it all begins with empathy. The ability to put ourselves into the shoes of our customers, to understand what their issues are, what their realities are, what are the challenges that they're facing, the problems they have, and how can we help? So human-centric design is a characteristic, it's a feature of everything that we do across our entire portfolio of solutions. And part of the whole idea of democratizing technology for us in our space, it's all about connecting everyone. And when we think about what are the elements, what's the constellation of things that are required in order for technology to become democratized, a few things are really leading the way. One of those things you touched on, Scott, about reliability, how critical and important it is that the solution work. Accessibility, we've had a conversation about the dimensions of what is included in accessibility. Of course, functionality is required, the right feature set of capabilities to meet the needs of the customer, to meet the challenge that the customer is facing. But there's another piece of that constellation too. It's important to talk about the impact of democratizing technology. And when we look at the video conferencing space, we're talking about video conferencing devices and making those devices available so that everyone has access to be able to connect.
Imagine the value that democratizing this technology is going to bring to multiple industries. Imagine your doctor being able to access a network of healthcare professionals. There's huge impacts in education. A lot of this learning has moved remote. Imagine that technology giving you the tools to keep your students engaged, to keep the learning environment immersive. How much value that's going to bring not only to the educator, but also the students.
There are multiple generations in the workforce today. Sometimes as many as 4 generations at the same time.
What's great about this technology is it flattens the learning curve in the workspace, allowing any generation the same access to the technology.
Zoom and DTEN have produced the solutions that help you stay productive through change.
Change is coming. Change is inevitable. We are experiencing it now, but Zoom and DTEN have come together to provide you solutions, technology that is once again accessible, reliable, to prepare you and enable you to be successful even in this environment of change. Thank you for joining us at Zoomtopia. DTEN is extremely excited to be working with Zoom and you to provide these solutions to keep us all moving forward together.